This is an article. Meth booms along with oil in West Texas. And this is the Santa Fe, New Mexican. Um, and this is in regards to applying for jobs and all of the people continuing to fail drug tests, ladies and gentlemen. An oil rig at Sunset in Midland, Texas. In the first 6 months of the year, more than 1,000 people working or applying for jobs in the oil producing business failed urine-based drug test, double the pace of failures last year, according to Houston-based DISA Global Solutions, the largest provider of drug testing policies to U.S. oil producers. See, I told you this is a major problem all across the U.S. that is not being spoken about at all in the media. And this is pretty significant if you got droves of people applying for jobs, and it's like a needle in a haystack to find somebody that is not coming up hot on a drug test. It's crazy. Eddie Lazoya never failed a drug test in the 3 years he hauled water in sand across the West Texas oil patch, even though he was using at least $200 a day in cocaine to keep his eyes open on brutally long days behind the wheel of a Kenworth 10600 semi-truck. Wow. $200. You would blow 200 a day? Oh my God. The Houston Chronicle reports Lazoya, like his fellow truckers, found ways to beat the test and keep driving, earning six-figure salaries. They consume cocktails of drugs to push themselves to the physical limits on trips between scattered drilling sites that could last 36 to 48 consecutive hours. They would drive their 35-ton vehicles in tight, single-file formations, blowing air horns when the sleepiest among them began drifting off the road. We always had cocaine, he said. And you know what? And I believe him. I believe him because, a lot of times they put a lot of these, especially these long distance truck drivers that are hauling across the country, they put them on deadlines. All right. And in many cases, they can only beat those deadlines if they get a minimal amount of sleep, which is very dangerous to put people like that on the road. But that's how these companies operate. Okay, so he's a recovering addict at 23 and is among the thousands of oil field workers who have succumbed to the mix of money, boredom, and drugs that often accompanies an energy boom. Drillers of all sizes have poured billions of dollars into the prolific Permian Basin this year, rebuilding operations after a 2-year oil bust that devastated the region. But for all the economic benefits of the industry's high-paying jobs, the oil rush again is bankrolling an expanding market for illegal drugs. Law enforcement officials say drug trafficking and drug abuse and drug-related crimes have spiked in recent years, evidence that energy boom and bust cycles have had enormous social consequences in West Texas. Inside a small Nazarene church in Midland, converted a decade ago into a drug and alcohol addiction treatment center, the number of people seeking help is on track to more than double from last year. Some 1,200 people have come through the doors of the Palmer Drug Abuse Program in the first 6 months of the year. 1 in 5 of them under 18. We're losing a generation of children to drugs and alcohol, says Michelle Savage, a longtime director of the program. LaZoya knows drugs of all kinds are easy to find here. After an injury left him unable to drive commercial trucks, he found another lucrative trucking route, this time transporting narcotic pain medications and other drugs from his home state of California to West Texas. Oh my goodness. Here he said dealers can sell cocaine, marijuana, and opioids for 2 or 3 times the price in neighboring states because of the remote location and the river of money flowing from the oil patch. There's a lot of profit to be made out here because it's such a high demand, he said. People want it here, and they'll pay for it. While the U.S. opioid plague has captured national attention, the drug of choice in West Texas is methamphetamines, or crystal meth, a powerful stimulant oil-field workers use to cope with long hours in the Texas heat, and one that increasingly supplied through Mexican drug cartels, according to law enforcement officials. An analysis of data from the Texas Department of Public Safety and the Houston Oilfield Services Company, Baker Hughes, found a strong correlation between the rise of drilling activity and the number of crystal meth seizures at the area surrounding the Permian Basin between 2009 and 2016, as the oil companies dispatch more rigs into West Texas. The number of meth seizures rose sharply. So we know meth is booming all over the country now. It's right on the heels of the opioid epidemic. It's also an epidemic, and don't be surprised if a third epidemic of drugs pop up, because it is really bad in the U.S. The U.S. is literally the drug capital of the entire earth. There is no one right now on the planet doing more drugs than the U.S., and that is really sad. The U.S. beats every country out by a lot, and I did this video when that article came out probably like a month ago, and that's really sad. It now you can see the domino effect that it's having out here in the country. You have more jobs opening within the U.S., but you can't find many people that can pass a drug test in the U.S. That's really sad. The Houston firm recruits workers from around the U.S., but for local companies without a nationwide search, the problem is far worse. Dynamic Oil Field Services, an oil equipment company based in Corpus Christi, has seen roughly half of its job applicants from West Texas fail drug tests this year, and most of its employees in the region are hired from other areas. Wow. I mean, this is really sad. But you can see the effects of the drug is like, it's a domino effect. It affects so many things. You got to think about it. Now you got people that can't pass drug tests. You got all these people high on the road that are killing people in high numbers. Traffic accidents due to drug addiction is also through the roof in America. You got bank robberies on the rise. You got pharmacy robberies on the rise. People's houses are being broken into because of these junkies. But see, they still insist on calling this a public health issue. And as long as they keep doing that, it's going to impact other industries as it is. So you're going to have to make a decision on not being so picky about who you want to hire, or a lot of companies have just straight up gave up on Americans altogether, and they're just bringing in foreign workers. And you see Trump is he's one of them that's doing it. For his resorts down in Florida, he doesn't even want American workers. He's getting foreigners and bringing them in to work at his 2 resorts down there in Florida. I'm going to leave the link to this article in the description box, and you can come out and read it for yourself. But ladies and gentlemen, as I stated before, I'll state it again and again, this drug addiction ain't going nowhere. And with now it's up to 142 a day dying around the US, it's only going to get worse. Please leave your comment and subscribe. And if you can donate to my channel, please do. Peace, family.